Welcome to PhD with Woman on It, Hack the Future. My name is Beata Young, and today's positivity hack delivered will be by our guest, Juliet Hall. Topic: Own Your Own Opportunities. Let me remind you, this is a grassroots community that focuses on women on IT. An inclusive forum of women in technology, startups, and female leaders who are supported by men as well. And I bring heart to that hustle because empathy is my motto. And empathy is critical when you own your own opportunities. Before we dive into discussion with our beautiful guest, let me remind you what's been happening in the world of technology. Julia Streets, the founder of and CEO of Streets Consulting, has done amazing job over the span of many years, including her podcast, and from policy to engineering efficiencies and everything in between. Thank you, Julia, the founder of and CEO of Streets Consulting, for hosting the Semi-Impact Summit and COGEX Festival. Congratulations to Patty O'Callaghan, a former PhD guest, computer scientist, tech lead, and Google expert, on her nomination for the SWIT Award 2023, taking place this October. We are eagerly anticipating your well-deserved success. Big news from the star. We're over the moon to congratulate astronaut Tracy Dyson for her upcoming third assignment to the International Space Station as a flight engineer and member of the Expedition 7071 crew in March 2024. Good luck on your space travel. Now let's go back to our topic: own your own opportunities. Own Your Opportunities is the book that our guest has written. In a world filled with opportunities, how can you harness your true potential and carve your path to success? Juliet Hall, award-winning author of Own Your Opportunities, principal of Juliet Hall INC, and recognized as a top Black woman of influence in Atlanta, is here to unravel the secrets of self-discovery and self-determination. After 2 decades in corporate leadership, Juliet confronted a life-changing realization. You can courageously build your own kingdom or be an unfulfilled laborer in someone else's. Join us for an inspiring conversation as Juliet shares her incredible story, becoming a trusted advisor and coach to top executives and an advocate for servant inclusive leadership. She's passionate about empowering leaders, especially women, at professional crossroads, guiding them toward their unique callings and helping them thrive. Juliet, let's start with a question that we always ask at the beginning of our conversation. Where are you joining us from?
Thank you so much, Beata, for having me on your show. And I bring you greetings all the way from Atlanta, Georgia.
Beautiful Atlanta, Georgia, with lovely autumn. You're wearing your favorite clothes because it's getting a bit chillier in the evening. So I would like to say the words that Julie has written, has started your book with. I dedicate this book to every woman and girl who dreams. What are your dreams, Juliet?
My dreams. Well, my dreams are to really become an international influencer. I have a purpose and a mission of inspiring and mobilizing leaders, and I really have a heart for reaching out to women primarily and women of color more specifically. So I hope to become a voice of hope and possibility. And my dream is to spread this message of own your opportunities across the globe.
Mm. Owning your opportunities is definitely something that we've been preaching ever since we launched Women on IT. However, maybe you could dive into the dynamic of what it's like in Atlanta. I guess you've been working in a professional field for quite a while now. So, what's the ratio of male, female leaders?
Well, in Atlanta specifically, I think there are, I don't know the exact statistic of male versus female, but I will tell you that there's so many opportunities for growth here in Atlanta, and specifically if you are a woman of color. We just have so many educational institutions that are very nurturing, very strong academic institutions. I happen to have graduated from Spelman College, which is here in Atlanta, and it's a academic institution, a private academic institution that serves African American women. And our motto is "Women Who Change the World." And so there are just many opportunities for growth, for leadership. And here in America, I just realize every day that there is no reason for anyone to fail in what they desire to do. It really all comes down to your mindset. You have to believe in yourself. You have to believe in your value because the opportunities are present. Even as a small business owner, such as myself, there are so many opportunities for funding for small business owners, and especially if you're a woman. And so there's no success is available to everyone who has the courage to go after it.
So, the courage is the missing link between opportunity and success. What would be your advice? How to gain the courage? How to go out and get that opportunity without feeling like having an imposter syndrome?
Well, imposter syndrome really just reminds me, because I experience it from time to time, that I'm human. And we all have feelings of self doubt. I think if we're truly honest with ourselves, if we look ourselves in the mirror, we always have those doubts and those questions of, do I have what it takes? But there's also a small voice inside of each of us that believes that we can do great things. And the way that I have found courage is just to go do it, right? Um, Courage to me is you build courage when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, when you stretch yourself, when you try new things, when you get outside of your comfort zone. You have to take risks in order to find out what you're good at, what you love, what you don't like, what you have a natural knack for. So if you are willing to just take a baby step out of that boat, just step out and do something new, explore your curiosity, then the more you get into the habit of getting outside of your comfort zone, that's really where you begin to build that internal confidence in yourself and recognizing your value and believing it. See, you have to be tested in anything before you can be trusted. So if you want to build your confidence, you've got to test yourself. You've got to get outside of what's normal and try something new.
Mm. It's all lovely, Juliet, but I'm going back to this statistics that psychologists quite often bring to us, which say that for every no, to counter lever that no, you need to hear at least 7 yes. So how do we achieve that? How do we, nurture ourselves into believing ourselves that the next opportunity will be yes?
Yeah. Well, I'm not familiar with that statistic, and statisticians get numbers wrong all the time. I'm certainly not discrediting that. But what I know to be true, and this is based off of my experience, is you'll never get a yes on anything if you don't shoot your shot. You'll never, if you just choose not to do anything, you're guaranteed to never get a yes. So statistically speaking, I would think that the more that you do something, the more that the repetition, the practice, making it a habit. Look at your daily habits. What are your habits telling you? um, the more that you repeat the right behaviors, the more that you repeat practices that help you to grow, there will be an open door somewhere. There will. I mean, and I don't think any psychologist can dispute that. I don't know the numbers behind it, but human behavior would suggest that you just can't quit. You can't give up, pretty much.
Well, Juliet, it just brings back my memories I've heard over and over from many speakers, many guests who I was blessed to have here on Positivity Hack Delivered. And they always remind us that the worst that can happen after you ask for that position, for that pay rise, is hearing no. But it's not going to be the end of the world. And again, it goes back to that funny joke, which is telling us that, somebody was praying, God, please let me win the lottery. God, please let me win the lottery. Over and over, every night, this guy was praying, and eventually the God stepped out and said, buy at least a ticket. So
That's
there
funny
you go.
that you mentioned the lottery, because here in Georgia, there's this lottery called the Powerball, and right now I think it's over 800 million US dollars.
Well,
So funny you
it's time to buy a ticket, Juliet.
But check this out. That's statistically impossible to win. But at some point, at least one person who took a risk of buying a $2 or $3 ticket is going to have an amazing return on that investment.
Absolutely. Well, speaking of investment, invest in your opportunities, investing in your growth. And you mentioned the fact that there are some muscles we have to jiggle around to build that stamina or build that courage. So, what would be your advice? Where to start?
To building courage,
Yes.
I would you have to start with you. Like, think about it. If you liken your human existence to a seed, right? What do we know about seeds? Seeds grow in the right environment. You could have a whole bunch of seeds in a packet, and those seeds will never sprout because they're inside of a packet. They're not in the right environment. But once you open up the packet, once you plant that seed in some soil and give it some sunlight and some water, then growth occurs. Growth happens inwardly before it appears outwardly. So when it comes to building your own courage, I mean, because really courage, I think really you develop that when you get to a place of your own self-discovery, when you recognize, this is who I am. I know what I'm good at. This feels, when I'm operating in this environment, or I'm doing this, this feels like a natural extension of who I am. You have to tap into the things that you do well. At the intersection of what you love to do and what you do well is your genius. And at that intersection, that genius, the gifts that you have, that connects you to your purpose. And so it's getting to that intersection, that moment of discovery. And when you tap into that and when you develop that, growth occurs. So put yourself in the right environment. Think about, who your friends are, who your circle are. Are they progressive people? Okay. What do they talk about? Are they just talking about meaningless things? Are they talking about, what the fashion of the day is, or talking about other people? That might not be the right environment for you. But if you place yourself in a circle of friends who are always thinking about what's next for them. If they're talking about or thinking beyond their job, or thinking about what kind of impact that they want to, make in this world, that's the kind of circle you want to be in. You want to be in positive energy that's going to produce some fruit. So placing yourself in the right environment is the beginning, all right, of that seed germinating inside of you and sprouting and forming roots. So I would challenge anyone listening today, if you want to find that courage, if you want to grow in whatever your endeavors are, start by analyzing your environment, do an inventory of your circle of friends or colleagues. Even pay attention to what you listen to or watch on social media. That that social media can be a huge distraction if you're not following the right people who aren't challenging you to think. Okay, so environment matters.
Environment matters, and we are surrounded by lovely supporters. We have Patrick's opinion, who's sending us hearts. Thank you so much, Patrick. And we have Mary, who's saying, hello, ladies. Fascinating topic on today's PhD. Mary and Patrick, we encourage you to have the courage to ask questions. Now, Juliet, you mentioned the fact that there are opportunities and courage, and there are so many facets and so many great things happening out of our comfort zone. What inspired you to write the book, and what was the circle you were around that inspired you to do that?
I decided to write the book because I wanted to share my life with readers so that they would know what's possible when you bet on yourself. And I also wrote the book because I wanted to be transparent. There are highs and lows in this journey called life. And as a former corporate employee, I had wonderful experiences in corporate America that helped me to grow. I also had very challenging experiences, and those challenging experiences helped me to grow as well. You can't advance without adversity, period. And I wanted to provide a resource, a tool by way of sharing my own story that perhaps other people could relate to. I also provide tips and strategies in the back of my book that really talk about some practical takeaways, tips for self-discovery and self-regulation to help people own their opportunities. Um, as far as the circle that I was around when I wrote the book, I had and still have a very narrow focus, and that's intentional for me. I I do not. I'm not. I'm very strategic and very intentional about the people I'm around, the environments that I'm in. I tend to be alone more often than not, because I'm very focused, and I'm very focused on the goals that I'm trying to achieve, the business that I'm trying to grow, the platform that I'm trying to grow. And I, I can't dedicate or give my full best faith effort if I'm always with different people in social environments that aren't helping me to advance my own agenda. So I find, and I just find this to be true with a lot of successful business people, that the most successful business people tend to keep a very narrow focus. They specialize on one thing mainly, maybe two, a few things that they do very well. They concentrate their efforts in that. They maximize that, before they even, move on and start new ventures. And for me, I just have to have an environment that keeps me focused. I have a board of directors for my business, and that board consists of my CPA, my accountant, to make sure that my numbers are right, and then I have a business attorney as well to make sure that contractually speaking, just everything's in order there. And also, she just provides great sound business advice in general. And so you have to have people who are very smart, smarter than you, even, who are good at what they do. They're subject matter experts in their field. Have those people around you so that you can stay focused on the main thing for your business. And that's so my environment is very small. I'm, I even the things that I love to do outside of work, they're very intentional. I love to play tennis. So tennis is a big community for me. And and I need that community because I socialize to that community. I have a support system to that community. I'm also involved in a women's organization called the Links. That's also another huge community for me because that's a community of very influential movers and shakers of African American women, and they keep me inspired. I look up to a lot of the women in that organization. So, and even am mentored by some women in that organization. So that's my environment.
Mm. So you claim to be very intentional and narrow focus, but still, tennis, women, then there is your board of directors. That still sounds quite busy. You're not really, kind of transactional. It's not all about business, right?
Well, no, it's not all about business, but I think you see my circle to me is comprised of people that are like-minded and who share similar interests as me. So it's a very concentrated focus. I'm not just randomly in different environments. I'm around people who are very similar to me. People who have the progressive mindset that's similar to mine. People who even have the same belief system, all right, whose values align with mine. So I'm
But
around my
is
kind. Yeah.
isn't it a bit narrowing your circle, because if everybody around you has got the same beliefs, there is not really the element of diversity and challenging your line of thought, is there?
No, I don't know that I would agree with that. I just believe iron sharpens iron. I mean, I don't know that just because I is that diversity. I don't know. Nobody's ever challenged me on that. I would like to think that even within my kind, there's still diversity. There's still diversity of thought. You know, I have different points of view than a lot of the friends that I interact with. And it's definitely not transactional because the people that I have in my life, my circle, like my close inner circle, they challenge me. We have, debates or discussions or discourse on certain issues, but there's a mutual respect that we have for each other. I just believe there's something that I can learn from them and something that they can learn from me.
Mm.
But I mean, yeah, I don't know that I would say that my circle isn't is not diverse. It's definitely uh it's racially diverse for one. Gender wise, it's diverse. I mean, I have male and female friends. Um and yeah, but where the common denominator is for me and the things that matter for me is there are common values that we have, and there's also this common mindset of being progressive, of being a positive influence, um, and of leadership. I mean that's what's common uh,
Mm.
for me. For me,
So a growth mindset, and as somebody actually said, uh, quality people only. Don't waste your time, don't waste your energy for talking about weather because it's not gonna get you anywhere. Weather is going to change. So, quality people only. Lolita Browning Jackson says, iron sharpens iron. Proverbs 27:17. There you go. Thank you very much for your input, Lolita. I hope you're going to have some questions for Juliet, who is talking about her great book on your opportunities. So, Lolita, share some Juliet, share some stories of your opportunities to inspire us how you got what you ask for.
Stories. Yeah. So one of the story I would tell you that a pivotal moment in my entrepreneurial journey occurred when I decided for myself that when I was going to publish my book, that I wanted to be a traditionally published author. Um, I took the hard road. I took the road that a lot of writers don't follow because it's very hard, statistically speaking. It's very hard uh, to present a manuscript, get an agent, and receive and work with an established publisher. And the story that I have is that I had set the goals for myself of, I knew that I wanted my book to be a quality produced book that would be sold across the US and have the opportunity to be sold abroad. And I wanted to win awards from it. Like, there were just certain things that were important to me as a writer. Not saying that going a different track is not important. But I just know I made a decision based on the goals that I had for my book project. And the story is that it took me 2 years. I was rejected over 100 times by literary agents. I mean, let me say that again, because I was rejected over 100 times. I took track. I kept an Excel spreadsheet of all the agents that said no to me. But remember, Beata, when you asked the question about when do you get to that yes? All right, well, here's that number. You can take this back. Maybe this aligns with what the psychologists were saying, is that I had to decide that, somebody, with every no that I got, I knew I was closer to the one yes. And I only needed one yes from an agent who could take my manuscript, my book proposal, to a publisher. It took me 2 years to get that yes, but I got that yes. And so I share that story with you as an example of, this is why you don't quit. Okay.
Mm.
It hurts to be rejected. Nobody likes a door that's slammed in their face, or nobody likes to be told no. It doesn't feel good, but I couldn't I couldn't stop just because of how I felt. If I let my feelings get in the way, I would never have a book out now. Okay. But this is where the growth happens. This is where the maturity happens, the evolution of courage and, and your leadership is, if you believe in something and you really you believe it internally, that this is what you are called to do. This is even from a divine perspective, if you believe that, for those of you who are faith-based, that God told you to do this, you will get tested. Vision is always tested. It is. And but because I was steadfast and unmovable, I I eventually got to my yes, and here we are today. And my book won a Nautilus Book Award, so that's checked. It's opened up the door for me to expand my platform. That's checked. There's some other things I want to happen, but that's the story that I share with people. If I had to learn how to overcome rejection, I had to learn with people telling me no. But I had to have this sort of mindset that was large enough and abundant enough to recognize that there is enough opportunity in this world for everybody. So just because someone says no over here, it just means that maybe it's not for you, or it's not for you at this time. But that doesn't mean that there's not a door over here or someone over here that's waiting for you, ready to tell you yes.
So, Juliet, tell us, how was Juliet pitching number first publisher and 100th publisher? Has she changed a lot, or is her pitching different?
My pitching?
Yes, from the you said that you had to pitch over 100 times. You had to
Yes,
meet
I
over
queried.
100 people to finally find that publisher
Mhm.
who was pleased with your work and wanted to publish it. So I'm just wondering, because you talk in your book also about pivoting. So I'm wondering, did you have to pivot? Did you have to put some emphasis on parts of the book, depending on what publisher had on mind?
So Beata, what's interesting is that I labored so much over my manuscript, even during the season of rejection. It forced me to become a better writer. While I was waiting on that one yes, I had time to continue to develop my story so that I could produce the best, most excellent manuscript to that agent, who would then take it to the publisher. And I remember this is, I mean, it was amazing to me. By the time I finally, when I submitted my manuscript to my publisher, after I had signed the publishing contract, they wanted my full manuscript. Post Hill Press is my publisher. And I'll never forget the editor. She read it. She really didn't have that many edits outside of just, and she didn't have any edits for content purposes. Like, I didn't have to change anything over here. I didn't have to emphasize anything more over here or elaborate. The only thing I needed to add was a closing chapter that summarized all of my lessons learned. And that's what, the author's notes represent in the back of my book. But I didn't have to change the story, is what I'm trying to say. The edits that were made were just to make the writing overall crisper, and just suitable for publishing standards. So I just think that's a testament to the work that I invested in and to the manuscript. And also, I made sure I invested in editors even before I submitted my manuscript. So I put a lot of time and money investment into producing the best manuscript, because again, I had a goal that I wanted to achieve, and by the grace of God, I did, and just the goodness of my hard work. But I don't think that I changed. I don't think that there's I don't believe that I changed personally. But if there's anybody out there in the audience who's listening, who knows me personally, maybe you can share a story, or mention something. But I don't think that I've changed.
Well, I definitely would like to see you with your next book, maybe next year, and we will see how much you have changed, or
Oh
if
yeah.
you have changed at all.
Well, I don't think I changed person, but that is a good point, Beata, because I have not written book number 2 yet. I have, I definitely have ideas. I've been writing down some ideas, and maybe to that question, to that point, the second book is going to be a sequel to this first book, Own Your Opportunities, because Own Your Opportunities is really about that. It's about discovering my value while I was in corporate America and deciding to leave corporate America because I knew my dreams didn't fit there. And
Mhm.
and so now the second book, there's a lot that I can certainly share about that journey of going from a corporate structure to being on your own, and the highs and lows that go with it, and how to overcome a crisis like the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, which, and how I even survived through that. So yeah, so I don't know that I changed personally, but I will tell you that I'm more mature in my thinking, more realistic, definitely very planful, probably even more intentional and focused, because I just realized that time is my greatest resource and I want to maximize the time that I have. I really do. I don't want to be wasteful. And this journey and this season of my life is making me recognize that every second counts.
Every second counts, every comment counts as well. We have Marianne Madera. She says, hello, Juliet. Thank you so much for your tips. You're so inspiring and relatable.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Marianne.
Yeah.
And Michelle Garcia. Hi, Beata and Juliet. Thanks for another interesting topic. Rejections means there is something else better for you. Do you agree, Juliet?
I um I don't know if I agree that something is yes, it can mean that something is better. I think better in terms of better suited for you. I think there are different reasons why we get rejected in life. I actually wrote a post about this. Like, rejection teaches us, it prepares us, but it informs us sometimes that we might be premature for an opportunity. It's not good to receive an opportunity that you want, but you're not ready for, because once you fall flat on your face after receiving an opportunity that's overwhelming to you, it's hard to recover from that. We're rejected for different reasons, but yeah, I do believe that, yeah, a no today could just mean that you're not ready, or that something is better for you down the road, and you just have to be patient and you have to be ready for it.
Mm. That's a sign from the universe that there is something else looming, and definitely don't give up, keep trying. So, Juliet, you talked about the corporate life. How is it different from your entrepreneurial journey? Is it better or worse, or would you say that both have got their pros and cons?
There are pros and cons to both. Overall, I'm still grateful for my decision to branch out on my own. But in corporate America, you exist within a structure, all right, and that structure comes with predictability. Like, you know that you're going to get paid on, twice a month or once a month or once a week or whatever that structure is. It's going to hit your bank account. You know what kind of amount it's going to be. So there's that. There are benefits that come with it. There are opportunities for growth. So that predictability, that structure, works for a lot of people, and it makes them feel comfortable. Now, I would say that the cons in corporate America is that you just don't have the freedom that you can enjoy when you work for yourself. And also in corporate America, there's this element of control, which is really the primary reason why I left, because I just don't like being told what to do. I mean, if I'm being really honest, I don't like for people to control me. I don't like for people to, tell me what I can or cannot do. Um, I have a fundamental problem with that. I don't like, a lot of times, the relational dynamics within corporate America. Sometimes it can be parent child. I don't like to be spoken down to. I don't like, that just doesn't work for me. So that's some of the cons. Now, let's flip it to working for yourself. Now, I struggled initially because I had to identify what that structure needed to look like for me as, my own boss. You know, you know, I just did. I had a lot of time and I was trying to figure out, okay, how do I put some boundaries on this? How did that? So I had to plan a lot more. I also had to, there was a moment where when I left corporate America, I had a little bit of PTSD, if I'm just being really honest with you, post traumatic stress syndrome, because I struggled with some nightmares that I had while I was in corporate America, some of the experiences that I had that, I mean, I'm not bitter about them, at least I'm not anymore, but there were, I had to deal with some emotions. I also I had to see a therapist, to be honest with you. A lot of people don't talk about this. A lot of women don't talk about this, but I'm real. There were feelings that I had to reconcile um, when I left corporate America, and I needed to talk to somebody about them. So, so yeah, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with how can I be responsible with my freedom. And the main thing about working for yourself is you eat what you kill, right? And so even now, I don't know when my next, I mean, I know when my next check is going to come in, from because for with contracts, but like you don't know, you don't always have that certainty of when you're going to get that next check for your speaker fees or for your coaching fees. And surviving the pandemic was really hard. I mean, because I went from being on stage to a virtual environment. A lot of corporations had to figure out, how to work remotely. And it was just, it was a very challenging time, and I needed a lot of encouragement. But I'm so grateful that I did a lot of planning before I made my pivot, because it was through that planning and that preparation and just the attempt, hopefully, to make sound financial decisions that carried me through the pandemic. So yeah, there are highs and lows to both. You get the freedom, but you don't have the consistency, at least starting off of getting paid. Um, and you have to decide what's more important to you. And at that season in my life, my freedom.
Well, one thing we can definitely say, Juliet, is you don't have Stockholm syndrome. So there is a very good moment in your book. You say, let me quote: "I had poured years of my soul believing in a company that didn't believe in me." It's very relatable, because I also used to work in a corporate Poland, in a manner of speaking. And there were moments that I really felt frustrated when I was mansplained just because I was below, because somehow somebody who didn't speak any English was above me, mansplaining through the import export facility, and he couldn't even just give up this job because he felt entitled, even though he couldn't speak any English, which was required for that job. So Juliet, uh, you talked about your opportunities, but also there is a very big part of your life, and I believe one of our audience was also talking about that part of life, which is believing in God. Tell us about that.
Well, my faith is very core to who I am. Um, I I think it's important. I think it's imperative to believe in something bigger and higher than yourself. And so yeah, I grew up in the church in I'm from Columbia, South Carolina originally. So South Carolina is one of the Bible Belt states. Um, and I grew up in the church, but I really didn't come to know God on a very deeper level, on a very spiritual level, until after I stepped out on faith. And when I left corporate America to do something that was wild and courageous, and it was crazy. And it didn't make sense to a lot of people. It didn't even make sense to my own father, who asked me, well, where you going, how you going to get benefits? And, you going to leave all of that. I left something that was so a very gainful employment opportunity and I bet on myself. And that takes a lot of faith. That takes a lot of faith, not only in myself, but in knowing who my source is and believing in who my source is. And I believe that, I do believe I'm divinely created. I am a Christ follower. I use the Bible as my blueprint for how to live, or how to make decisions, for how to treat people, for how to meet, even how to think big. And so, yeah, my faith is everything to me. And there are times even now when I struggle, when I question myself and I question God. I'm like, are you sure this is what I'm supposed to do? Is this really my purpose in life? Is this really what you created me for? So I do have those moments of doubt, if I'm just being really honest with you. But then, it's like the next day I'm reminded, whether it could be, an encouraging comment from one of my dear friends who's on this. I know she's listening to me right now. And she reminds me, that God wouldn't bring me this far in my life to fail. That's another reason why you got to have some people around you, keep your environment right and tight, because you want to have the right voices speaking to you, to encourage you and to keep you lifted up. But yeah, so my faith is important. And I my faith, honestly, it's so core to me, and I feel like it's all I have. I get a lot of strength from it. And to me, I know that God shows up through the people that I love, and who love me and who support me. He shows up when I'm able to recognize opportunities in life to advance me or to help me to become a positive impact on others. He just shows up in different ways. And so, yeah, my faith is legit. It's so important. And I'm very, I'm uncompromising in terms of, expressing that.
Juliet, not many people are voicing their faith, especially in Poland, for example. We've been suppressed by church. Quite a lot of women feel that there is some injustice, but that's not the core of our discussion. I wanted to ask you, what is the biggest takeaway for readers of Own Your Opportunities?
The biggest takeaway, I get that question sometimes, and I don't know if I always answer it the same. I think the takeaway is going to be different for the people who read it. But I think the biggest takeaway, or I hope, is that I want readers to really ask themselves the question, what did God have in mind when he created me? Or if you're not even a faith-based person, and that's fine, to each his own. But ask yourself this question, or I would challenge the reader to think beyond their job, and to really, I hope the takeaway for them would be, is really just to self-reflect and to ask themselves, what are my dreams? What are my vision? And am I doing everything that I can do to grow my individual leadership, and to evolve to such a point that whenever I leave this world, I leave empty. So I just hope that's their takeaway, is that they recognize that there's an opportunity to evolve into the fullest human expression of who you are, and to find the courage to do that, to embark upon that.
Ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you to own your opportunities and buy Juliet Hall's book. It's available all over the globe, and we are going to post a link so you can get your copy. Patty O'Callaghan, thank you very much for your comment. We really appreciate you tuning in and saying thank you for our congratulations. Once again, you rock and you definitely own your opportunities. We are heading towards the end of the show. Thank you so much, everyone who's listening to us today. Our guest is Juliet Holt, who talks about her book, Own Your Opportunities. Now, we are going to dive into our usual questions. Juliet, I believe there must be lots of very important people in your life who inspire you. So I'm going to ask you, if you had a chance to travel anywhere in the world and choose any person in the world to have a private breakfast with, who would you choose and where would you go to?
So if I had an opportunity to have a private breakfast with someone, it would be Dr. Jordan Peterson. He's a Canadian psychologist, clinical psychologist. I believe that's his background. And the reason I would want to have breakfast with him is because he's a disruptive voice. I love how he thinks. I love the brilliance of his mind um, and how he articulates his views. He is a lot of his views are not necessarily popular in today's culture. There's a lot of controversy, but I just appreciate anybody who's willing to stand strong and firm in their beliefs and to back it up with facts and to not waver on that. And I just I just think he's a brilliant mind. I have one of his books. I haven't started it yet. He wrote the book 12 Rules for Life, I believe. So I'm going to start that at some point. But I would want to meet with him. I don't care where we meet. I do know enough about him to know that he only eats a beef diet due to his, for health reasons, I believe. But so it would have to be a breakfast place that served a good steak. And I'm okay with that because I like a good steak.
Good steak for breakfast with Dr. Peterson. However, I'm a little bit disappointed. I was hoping to hear somebody inspiring, especially a African American female. Well, let's go into another opportunity to join you. Maybe next time you will inspire us with somebody else. Patty is saying he is amazing, very smart, and so articulated. I agree. Now we are heading to another question about what book you recommend for somebody who wants to start their career, start with a great inspiration.
So there's this book. It's actually, I think, the I think it's number one in the world right now, or if not, it's definitely in the top 10. But Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think that his book really challenges you to not so much think about the end goal, but to think about the process, your daily process, your daily habits. Our habits, really influence our future. And his book is all about focusing on that process and trusting that process and analyzing, what are you doing on a daily basis to help you get to your goal? And it's just those little things that you do every day that help you get to the goal. So yeah.
Little things and having stamina and doing that job every day. Now, Eleanor Roosevelt once said, "Women are like tea bags. We don't know our true strength until we are put in hot water." So, how is Juliet brewing?
How is Juliet growing? So I challenge myself every week. Every week I write down in my journal. I keep a journal of my weekly and my daily activities. And I'm a writer, so I do write things down. But I like to I was encouraged by a dear friend of mine who's also part of my circle, okay, doing great things. We have different political views, but she's still in my circle. I'm only saying that because I do have diversity in my circle. But she challenged me to set the thermostat with God every week. And so every week I write down the things that I want to accomplish. Like I have my overall goals that I want to accomplish for the year, but every week I have a discipline of writing, and it's the beginning of the week, so Sunday or Monday, and I write down, this is what I want to do physically because I believe in growing my health and my physical wellness. These are something I might have. Okay, these are books that I want to read or chapters I want to read from a book that I'm already reading. Um, I think about what I want to post on social media. So content creation. I'm always thinking about what's the word for the week, or what can I share or impart to other people. So I set those goals. I also and then there are just some other goals that I think about that I want to accomplish every week, and then so I write it down, and then every day I'm tracking the things that I'm doing. So I just
That's your goal building. However, we were asking about not growth, but actually how are you in hot water, meaning difficult situations when sometimes you feel like exploding.
feel like exploding. And how do I grow through that? Okay, I thought okay, and then I
How
was
do you brew? How are you brewing?
brewing. Okay, I thought
There
you
you
said
go.
growing. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. My bad, my bad. I'm sorry. So I totally missed that question. Okay, how am I brewing? Um, when I'm in hot water, well, let's see. I am. I think right now it's towards the end of the year, and I'm always thinking about making sure that I have enough financial resources, to continue to do the things that I'm doing in my business. So, money will always make someone brew or feel uncomfortable, and so that's just a real response. But I would tell you that how I'm getting through that is, and this is a lesson, whenever you find yourself in hot water, there's an opportunity that um, to help you get out of that. And I I'm and so the example that I have right now is like I'm applying for these small business grants for my business, something that I never thought about doing because I kind of relied on my own resources for my business. Um, or I might have sponsors from friends and family that invest into my business, but I've never taken out a bank loan. I've never, I'm a debt free business. And so I just kind of relied on myself. And the message is, you can't, you really, if you want to be successful, you really need to strengthen your partnerships with people, or recognize or take advantage of other opportunities, and so like now I'm applying for these small business grants now. This is all new, but and I hadn't had a word yet, but it made me realize that I don't have to rely on my own resources. There are resources that are available in the United States to help small business owners, and I'm banking that that's going to help get me out of that hot water. So
Well, we wish you best of luck, Juliet. I'm sure you are going to find the opportunity to grow your business with whatever funding you can get. However, I'm mindful of the fact that we have a final pending question. Can you please give us your life lesson quote and how did it change you?
So my life lesson quote is your gifts connect you to your purpose. And that quote, I first heard that quote, and I quoted a lot actually, probably to the point where I take more credit for it. But it's from someone who's passed away. He's a spiritual teacher, leadership advisor. His name is Dr. Miles Monroe, or his name was Dr. Miles Monroe. He actually passed away in 2014. But just another great thinker, leadership thinker. And that quote stuck with me because I felt like at the time I heard it, it articulated what I felt and knew to be true. It was almost like confirmation because it came, I heard it around the time after I made my pivot outside of corporate America into entrepreneurship. And I was like, that quote just turned the light on for me. And it was something that I had already been feeling. And it's really core. I think it's core to my own platform of self-discovery and self-maximization, is getting to that center of knowing, again, what it is that you love to do and what you do well. Because at that intersection is your gifts. It's your area of genius. And it's that place that connects you ultimately to, I believe, the purpose that you have in the world.
Ladies and gentlemen, you had a chance to speak to a genius, Juliet Hall. She talked about her opportunities. A book on your opportunities is available all across the road. Opportunities don't happen, you create them, Chris Grossner once said. And that's it. That's your opportunity finished to listen to the latest episode of a PhD today. Next week, we are going to be joined by Sylvia Juba. Late owls, early birds, and everything in between is her latest book. Again, another book author. She's self-published. She didn't have the courage to go to over 100 publishers. And that's it from 116 episode of PhD live stream. Thanks to our guest Juliet Hall. To stay updated and ensure you never miss a positivity hack delivered, follow Woman on It and turn on notifications to be alerted once a video has been released. Thank you so much to our lovely audience for your questions, for your comments. As always, our positivity quote comes from positive thinking only and goes, look for something positive in each day, even if some days you have to look a little harder. And finally, as Maya Angelou, another great African-American inspiration. If you don't like something, change it. If you can't change it, change your attitude. Today is your day to hack the future, hack the positivity you want. Thank you.